Imagine how you'd feel if you made it to the finals of the Duo Cash Cup. What if I told you this season is the easiest season ever to qualify to the Duo Cash Cup final? But the reason why you're not making it is because you don't have the correct strategy. But fear not, my friends, I'm going to give you the world's best strategy you need to give you the highest chance possible of making it to finals, by exposing my 4-step secret strategy that goes in depth on how you can make it to finals. Starting off with strategy 1. This is the format. It's really simple format this season, being 65 points for a win and 2 points for a kill. Nothing over the top. Those 65 placement points make it rewarding to go and play for endgame, but the 2 points also make it rewarding to go for kills as well. So this is where most people make their mistake. Do you go for those 65 points, or do you W key and go for those kill points? When looking at how many people actually quote, you'll realize it's just 50 people, meaning there's only one lobby in final. So I decided to do some in-depth VOD review on all the people that have made finals, and I realized that every single one of them had at least a 20 kill win in their first game of the Duo Cash Cup. Now this may sound hard, but with the gold lobbies, this is actually super easy to do. But you're probably wondering, Taven, I queue up as soon as the tournament starts and get no Rayleigh W keying me. How can I drop a 20 kill win first game when I've literally got one of the world's best fighters trying to kill me? Let me tell you something. In each of my tournament strategy videos, I tell everyone how late you should queue up into the tournament to get the easiest first game. So for the Duo Cash Cup video, I recommend you queue up 15 minutes late. This will give you the easiest first game possible and will allow you to fight all the people who died off spawn. And you're probably thinking, Taven, why 15 minutes late? Why not I just queue up 5 or 10 minutes late? Well, the reason why is because everyone already queues at 5 minutes late. So if you're queuing at 5 minutes late, you're just queuing up with everyone else who's also queuing at 5 minutes late. So that literally just completely scraps that whole idea and makes it no longer useful. By giving it 15 minutes for your first game, this means first game's still going on, meaning the good players are still in games and they're going towards getting that win, but all the bad players who have just died off spawn 2 or 3 times in a row, or just the awful players that have played placement and died mid-game, are now going to be in your lobby. Especially the people that queue 5 minutes late as well, they're all going to be in your lobby, giving you the biggest drone lobby you have ever seen, making it such an easy game for you to win. And the final reason why is because all the good players are going up towards the higher elo, while you're staying towards that lower elo with all the bad players, so you can easily boost yourself above all the bad players and even above some of the high elo players, putting you super high into that elo when you drop your 20 kill win first game. Next thing about the Duo Cash Cup, I want all of you to do, maybe after this video, I want you to take some time and look at the top 50 for your region. Look at their games, look at their match history. Maybe not the people who come first because they're just going to have a really good match history, but look at the people who just about qualified. Look at the people in 40th place, 50th place, and you will see they only really have 3, maybe 4 good games, and that's all they need to qualify. So as an example, I've got someone's match history up here who placed 50th and made finals on EU, the hardest region, and look at this match history. They got 1 win, preferably want to get 2 wins. If you want to qualify to finals and you get 2 wins, you're going to give yourself the best possible chance to make it. So preferably you want to aim for 2 wins, but if you're like these guys, it's possible to do it with just 1. They have 4 solid games really, then they had some alright plays. So their first game was a 32 kill win, and after your first game, ideally the best points you can be on is around that 100 point mark, just before 1995ish works well. But just take into consideration, these guys won 129 points. Then they just had 3 more decent end games, getting a 2nd place, a 3rd place, and a 4th place. And you're probably looking at their kills being 11 and 13, and them 2 games thinking they W keyed, right? But when you're in high elo, do not go for mid-game kills. This is exactly what they would have not done as well. They wouldn't have gone for mid-game kills unless you have that obvious advantage, which is why I recommend all of you just to try and avoid mid-game kills, unless there's some sort of motive behind going for it. Like let's say you're scuffed on loot, then obviously go for it. Or if you've got some sort of obvious advantage which will allow you to finish off the fight quickly. Because third party in this season is massive, and with no siphon as well, mid-game fights are just going to mess you up. You've got to go through loads of meds, your enemies are going to go through loads of meds, there's no siphon, and you're going to end up going into endgame with 2 big pots. And trust me on this, it's definitely not worth going into endgame with 2 big pots. But we don't even need to worry, because you can easily drop 10 to 20 kills for just getting off spawn and endgame kills. You don't need those mid-game kills to get high kills when you're in high elo. Now I've talked about the strategy, I now want to talk about mid game because this is a key point. First of all, I want to touch on vaults, caches, and the loot island. Are they actually worth going for? Let's start off, I'm going to talk about caches. Every single game you want to go for your cache. I recommend in your mid game strategy, you make sure you can get to a launch pad or rift spot in time to be able to rift or pad onto your cache, because you need slurps this season. If you want to do well in endgame, you need slurps. So every single game, without failure, you need to go for your cache. In fact, I don't really recommend mid game fighting, but I even think it's worth fighting for your cache. Especially if it's gold, you're going to get win condition if you actually win the fight. So every game, I want you to go for your cache. Now, onto Loot Island. This is where it gets a little more tricky and kind of depends on your situation and depends on you as a team. Obviously, if you capture, you're going to get an extra 15 points, which over 10 games, if you got the Loot Island every game, that's an extra 150 points, which is near enough halfway to qual already. So for this one, there's no real right or wrong answer. I think first game, you should at least try to get it while you're in those bot lobbies, because 15 points can actually be a lot when it comes to those extra few points to qual, but in the rest of the games, it's up to you. If you're good fighters and you believe you can get every time, then I'm gonna say, yeah, you should probably go for it, because across 10 games, that's 150 points, and even though 15 points doesn't seem like a lot, when it starts adding up and you're getting it 3 or 4 times, you're starting to see some actual difference in your point. When you're picking up 40-60 points extra on top, it can make a massive difference to your placement overall. What I would say is you kind of have to go for it if you missed your cache. If you did not get your cache and you didn't get any slurps or anything, then it's probably worth going for the island. Now, the two best strategies to capture the island is either, first of all, get there early, one of you lands on the house, the other lands on the flag, and you just beam everyone who tries to contest it and force them to go down. Or the second strategy is to come in late while everyone is fighting, third party, clean up, and then do that strategy where one goes on house and one goes on flag once no one else is on the island. I mean, I really don't recommend mid-game fights, but if you win that center island, it's kind of the same as dropping 7.5 kills. You might kill a duo for it as well, so you can get nearly an extra 20 points from it, and you're going to be guaranteed slurps and stuff. That's the only reason I believe it can actually be worth fighting for the flag. So I'm not going to say no, I'm just saying you know you and your duo's playstyle and whether you should go for it or not, and you should discuss that as a duo. And at the end of the day, you only really need 3 or 4 really good games to qual, and the loot you'll get from the center island will set you up nicely to qualify the finals. Now, moving on to the vault. I mean, with the vault, if a vault spawns next to you, go for it, because that's obviously an extra 3 points, and that's just free, and you'll also get some good loot as well. But if you're really far away from it, I wouldn't be too bothered about trying to rift onto a vault and trying to full send your game for 3 points and some extra loot, if you know what I mean. It's not worth risking your whole game just to get some vault. Moving on to how you can reach endgame with no mobility this season. If you find yourself in high elo trying to reach endgame, you have to get yourself to dead side of the zone. One thing I love about a no mobility meta is the fact that dead side actually is dead side. In some recent seasons, especially in the Spider-Man season, we used to find more people on the dead side sometimes than the actual supposedly aggressive side of the zone. But with no mobility, you can kind of know what you're getting. It's a bit like when you go to the shop and pick up your regular order. There's not too many risks involved. It might not be perfect. At least you know what to expect from it. And it's the same sort of thing here this season. Dead side actually is dead side. So use this information to your advantage. Now, moving on to endgame with no mobility. Let me just tell you one thing about endgames with no. This is that high ground is a free win. If you can get high ground this season, you will have the easiest top 3 of your life. This season, you really want to get high ground in endgame. In previous seasons, I actually recommended people not to go for high, because there were so many things to break you down, like ODM gear that will just shred for the top of your top, or katanas that will just allow people to drop on you. And sometimes I just thought it was easier to play in the mix of everything in that end game. But this season, you actually want to go for high. And here's some of my best tips for those IGLs out there trying to get your team onto high. Now, the best way to take it is in 50-50. As soon as the zone pulls, no one should really be on height the zone before 50-50. So if 50-50 pulls on you, just crank up and take height. If it pulls near you, rotate early and take height. Trust me, it's worth it. But you're probably wondering, what if 50-50 doesn't pull on me and I have to rotate? Wait till first, maybe second move in, stay ahead of zone and wait for the height team to be at back of zone. If the height team's good, then they'll obviously have someone who's trying to get towards front side and someone who will stick backside, making it hard for anyone to take height. And at this point, you are going to struggle a little more getting it, but most teams will end up being at the back side of the zone. If you can make your way to the front side, you just want to crank like crazy to take height, because they'll have to rotate to you and the chances are they'll just jump down. Anyways, I wish you the best of luck with the Duo Cash Cup. If you found this video helpful, please type code TAVEN in the Fortnite item shop. It's the best way to support me. It literally takes 2 seconds just to open up that item shop now and type it in. Also subscribe and feel free to comment down below. I'll respond to all comments, even if it is just thank you or hi. And if you like this video, you may also like this video on screen now.